Hey friends, it's Michael Chayati from michaelmdmusic.com. Hope you're doing well. Today I thought I'd do something a little different. This is the first time I've ever gotten to do a little behind-the-scenes studio tour. I thought it'd just be fun to kind of peek under the hood, if you will, and see where the music is made. So let's just get started. And this is the place. So this is pretty much just my living room, which is used as a recording studio, also used as a living room, and it's a nice place where I can have some small live performances for some house shows, etc. So kind of multi-purpose. But as we walk in over here, let's just kind of take a look. Starting over here, I've got this violin that's in a case, and its bigger brother, or bigger sister, if you will, the viola. I've been playing piano for more than 20 years, so that's my comfort zone, and only within the past couple months have I been wanting to learn a bunch of other instruments, strings included, and man, string instruments are so far the hardest ones that I'm learning, but man, they're so much fun. I've spent hours upon hours just practicing these guys, but it's so rewarding, and I'm excited to see the progress I'm making. And I would love to use it in recording one day. Tucked away down there, you can see can't see very well. That's my Taylor GS Mini. It's actually a smaller body guitar than the usual sizes, but I love the sound of that one. Right behind me, you can see this big box looking thing. That's actually where all the soundproofing happens. So I cannot clap for you since I'm holding the camera, but if I were to sing something like, ha, you can definitely hear the echo there. This is not perfect by any means, but for it to go in here, you can still see the lyrics posted on this. If I were to sing this one, I don't know if you can tell from the recording, ah, there's still somewhat of an echo. It's definitely not perfect, but for the mixes that I'm doing, it does pretty well. And yeah, this whole thing to put together, including the weighted blankets, the moving blankets, PVC pipes, grommets, and these cable ties, it's I think about $80 for this entire thing, which is pretty good considering that at first when I was looking for soundproofing, things I saw online were like at least several $100s or even thousands, which was way too much. So anyway, that's just something that was nice. Now, as we move on this way, this is the command center, if you will. This is where I do all the work. There's that keyboard, which I've had a long time. This is the Yamaha P85, which is a pretty budget level keyboard, but it functions pretty well as a MIDI controller, which is what I use to send all the signal to the computer and synthesize all the sounds. And this is where all the sound is stored. So this is my trusty Mac Mini. Also had this for several years, and it's small, but it does its job pretty well. This interface here pretty much converts sounds and sends it to a digital signal into the computer. I've had this for, I think, ever since I started recording and mixing. This thing, I think, was like $99. And behind me, you can see tucked away there's my Studio Live mixer, which currently I'm not using to its full potential, but I'd like to learn more about that. And in the back, there's the bass guitar that I'm also learning to play as well. Alright, so that's pretty much the basic tour of what you see. So I think I would like to show you just a few sounds that I'm able to produce using this keyboard and using the virtual instruments, so let's take a look. Okay, so now we're gonna take a quick tour of how the virtual instruments work. We would probably expect the piano sound to come out as something like this. As an example of a piano sound. We want some strings. And we could go on and on. There's a contrabass, which is the low end for the string section. There's some percussion, which is really fun. That's a good one. Glockenspiel. And just one more. I don't know if you've seen drums being played on a keyboard before, but something like that. Up to this point, I've been pretty much living in the world of virtual instruments. So that is, I've done all my recordings pretty much on the keyboard using sounds that are stored in the computer. And the only live instrument per se that I've been using is the human voice. And as with all the other instruments I've been showing you, the idea is hopefully that I'll be able to do that for my next recordings, to actually use real instruments. Software related, this may be a little more on the nerdy side for those who are actually in audio engineering, just in case you want to see. I'm using Logic Pro X, excuse me. That's what I use for all my audio recording and mixing. In terms of gear, as I've showed you before, that's pretty much it. For plugins, pretty much, I also just use stock plugins. And by plugins, I mean like compressors, EQs, reverbs, delays. There's only 2 plugins which I really use that I've actually purchased or gotten. One of them is Melodyne, which is a pitch correction software, and number 2 is called a Waves de-esser, which is to tame those S's that sound when you're recording. So those are the only 2 plugins I really use. But other than that, I just use all the stock ones that come with the program. I think that's mostly it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little tour. I could always do more, but I just wanted to give just an overall vibe of how everything worked. And lastly, there's actually another reason I'm doing this studio tour for you guys, and it's because it's actually part of a challenge from a website that I've been following. It's something called HomeStudioCorner.com. It's hosted by a man named Joe Gilder, who's an awesome individual. I've actually been a follower of his for many years now. I've followed his podcast and listened to a lot of his videos, purchased some of his courses, but never got a chance to, or never put myself in a position to introduce myself to him at all. So this is part of the challenge, he said, for the month of December, so I probably wouldn't be doing this if he didn't put that challenge out. So anyway, the thing I want to say also is, Joe, if you happen to be watching this, I want to say thank you so much, just because you're probably helping a lot more people like myself who are just hiding in the background, not making themselves known, but have benefited so much from what you've given to us. And not just the technical aspects of recording and mixing, but also the philosophy behind it. They've been so helpful, and I'm sure a lot of people could speak the same. For the rest of you watching, I know it seems weird, I'm kind of speaking to 2 audiences, but anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, I guess I'll talk to you next time. See ya.